Hello. Well, in 1605, we have Cervantes who publishes Don Quixote. And yeah, it's about a story of a knight or a person who reads too many of these novels in Spain about knights and all the good things knights do. And so, but he gets so crazy by reading all these novels that he jumps onto a donkey and starts fighting windmills instead of course, other knights in armies. And this work was very, very successful at the time. Everybody liked to read it. The church didn't like it. They put it on the list of forbidden books. And in 16, so that was 1605. And then in 1632, we have the Shah. He let build the Taj Mahal because his wife died. And in 20 years, he had built that beautiful building. And it's a graph, a tomb to his wife, for his wife, his beloved wife. He loved her so much and she died. And then in 1632, 33, we have Galileo again. He was condemned in 1633. Well, he had a telescope and he had seen things. And he said the moon has craters. Nobody believed him. Jupiter has four moons. And he was convinced that the Earth turns around the sun. Well, after several warnings, finally in 1632, he was totally condemned by the Pope because he should stop saying all that bullshit. And then in 1637, René Descartes. Well, he said, I think, so I'm alive. I think. Well, I think when you see Calvin, he was also not happy, it seems, about the life being obsessed by so much serious things. He also introduced singing in when people go to a church service, that they can sing themselves. He wanted to bring some happiness. So René Descartes, well, he had to go many places. Holland, he was hoping there would be religions, and finally he died in Stockholm. Too cold for him to get up in the morning to give lessons to the queen or daughter of some noble woman. But so 1637, I think, so I am. And then, of course, 1661, Louis XIV finally starts the construction of his Versailles Palace. So beautiful, so great palace. And, well, he was elected by the Pope. Well, by God, of course, not the Pope. So to be King of France. Well, and then somebody wrote beautiful stories. Jean de La Fontaine in 1679, not totally appreciated because he had a connection to a minister who was, well, whose career was ruined by Louis XIV. But Jean de La Fontaine, well, he was respected in the end by Louis XIV. And, well, he wrote fairy tales like, well, there was a chicken who gave golden eggs. And so somebody captured the chicken and killed it to take out all the eggs at once. But he found no eggs. And once the chicken was dead, he had no more eggs. It gave no more eggs daily. So, and then in 1678, we have Newton And then in 1700s, we have that last Spanish king, um, and he has no successor. And he gives the whole inheritance to the grandson of Louis XIV. And in 1732, so we have the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. It was the granddaughter of Peter the Great, who had an Italian architect build that beautiful Baroque palace. And in 1735, we have in the birthplace of IKEA founder and the first IKEA store in the world. Um, in that village, I've been there a few years ago. Um, well, he said, well, God has created everything, but I put order in it. So he was sure there were family of plants and families of animals. So they have the same characteristics. Nobody was thinking about evolution, but he just said there is families of plants, and he gave them all Latin names like they have today. And his own name was, of course, not Swedish. He called himself Carl Linnaeus. And well, in 1748, Montesquieu in French published The Spirit of Laws and said there should be separation of power. And in 1754, we have David Hume. And, well, logic should not dominate our life. We should take things which can be observed, like feelings and emotion and desires. And so we should be more dominated by those things than to only live with rational intelligence. So it should not all be in the mind and logic and perfect ideas. No. We should live more to what we can feel and taste and enjoy life that way. And then in 1761, we have Wolfgang Amadeus, and well, he made fantastic music. So David Hume could be happy. We should not reason about the music of Mozart. We just enjoy it. And in 1774, we even get more emotion, this time in Germany, with Goethe. And he writes about the love of young Werther. He falls in love, but the woman doesn't like him. And well, it's a romantic novel. And well, he likes his Lotte. He likes, and well, in the end, he commits suicide because she doesn't love him. And but they were also thinking about well, economy. We have 1767, Adam Schmidt, Wealth of Nations, first guy to start thinking about economy, but not in the moral or theological way of thinking about the economy, but more an observable, practical, tastable, material way of thinking. So the first economist. And in the same year, 1767, well, 1776, we have Thomas Jefferson writing the American Declaration of Independence. And so all people are equal and they have certain rights. So the right to their freedom, their life, and to try to be happy, and So to organize all these rights, we need governments. But when governments don't respect those individual rights enough, we have the right to choose a different government. So American independence, and well, I see it getting burned. But with David Hume, we want feelings, not rationality, um, not that thing with God and how the existence and everything is created. And no. We care about our own feelings, normal life. And so the same year, 1776, James makes the steam machine better, which enables the Industrial Revolution in England. And then 2 years later, in 1778, this is something fundamental. It's a Frenchman, and he discovers that he can split water into different substances. He can split even air into different substances. And so that was very fundamental. But it was just before the French Revolution. And this great mind, Antoine de Lavoisier, well, he was killed in the French Revolution, guillotined. Yeah, he was rich. He had official function as tax functionary or something. And he and his wife, they had very good equipment, glass bowls, and balances. And even today in chemistry, they have this law of Antoine de Lavoisier, the law of de Lavoisier, and which says that the weight after chemical reactions always remains the same, whether it's air, solid, liquid. But after the reaction, if you take all the substances which come out of a chemical reaction, the total weight remains the same. And so that's just before the French Revolution, and they discover that principle of keeping matter. And I think 100 years later, they had discovered so many substances, different substances, that they made that famous table of Mendeleev. And then they saw that it jumps the weight. It's always double, or this. So, and I think that's how they got to how many atoms were in there. It's only much later that with atoms they would photograph them today with special computers. But at that time, at the French Revolution, they were not photographing. But now we think of CO2, so one carbon, two oxygen atoms. And so that was thanks to Antoine de Lavoisier. He split water into H2, hydrogen, and oxygen. And he split air into hydrogen and nitrogen. And so he found that mouse can live in oxygen, not air, but oxygen, much longer. And if you have a candle under a glass bowl, it will burn much longer with this super air. And so that's Antoine de Lavoisier. And then in 1781, Immanuel Kant, he writes that he finds the proof of God unreasonable, not logical. The proof is not valid. That's Immanuel Kant in 1781, still before the French Revolution.